Hi, I'm Matt Wyman, CEO and co-founder of Okareo. For those watching, yep, the scruffiness, the stitches are real. I had a skin cancer removed. I'm healing well. Everything's fine. And I am excited to dive in today to a conversation about the future of the agentic workforce. Joining me for this conversation are two founders, both from Newo.ai. First is Luba Ovtsinnikova. She's founder and CEO. Luba brings the customer and business lens. So, a gift for translating all that AI talk into plain language, but also that deep understanding of what it's like to take a product to market. How do you actually organize it? How do you message around it? And in fact, we'll talk more about this today, but that is an incredibly difficult thing to do when you're talking about agents. We also have with us Dr. David Yang, also founder and CTO. David's a serial founder, decades of experience in AI and taking AI-based companies and products to market. David's also known for all sorts of experiments like the AI House. We'll also talk about that today. And thinking about what's it like to have these AI systems that interact with the human world, not just abstract concepts, but actual real world, physical, making a difference in people's lives. What is it like when these come together? So I think to kick off, Luba, maybe you can tell us a little bit of the why now. What brought you to this moment with Nuba?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Matt, for the introduction and just a slight correction. So, as much as David is, capable of doing the CTO part, we're actually our third co-founder is an absolute genius when it comes to orchestrating
Ah,
very complex systems. So Alex is our CTO, and David is having the role of Chief Product Officer and really bringing the 30 plus years of AI experience and connecting it to real business outcomes, which if we have time we can show a couple of examples which are really impactful. So if you don't mind, I'll just introduce in brief what Newo is today, and then we can talk about the quite mesmerizing story about how all this happened, because it's quite unique, and nothing was showing the signs that will form a company around a coaching conversation. But then first, what is Nuo? So essentially, it's an AI agent builder that allows small and medium businesses to create revenue generating agents. So think about it as receptionists, AI appointment setters, SDRs, and so on. So everywhere where there's a lot of frontline communication and the business absolutely needs to be available 24/7 across all channels and in multiple languages. So these agents automate voice and text channels. So obviously it's the phone, it's the messengers, it's the social media messengers, Yelp, so you name it. All of that is generating additional revenue, and the typical ROI that we're seeing is about 30, 50 x on the agent.
wow.
So that's quite significant. And
In terms of money, it's basically 30,000 US dollars per month per location in additional revenue, which we bring.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And businesses have access to that information on the portal. We'll talk more about how we present the value of the agents so that it actually is translated into what's really valuable for businesses, which is amount of conversations, channels, what marketing systems work the best, where to allocate those budgets, and how many leads was generated, and in the end, how much revenue was created thanks to the AI agent. And we're probably rushing a little bit ahead, but what I want to discuss and what is greatly discussed is how Nuo specifically is addressing the biggest fear of those small and medium businesses around adoption. So there's definitely a clear need and requirement for a smoother self adoption, but it still needs smoother experiences, and businesses are having certain fear that they're not tech savvy enough and they end up procrastinating. So in our case, we actually solve this by creating a network of partners who are able to deliver the solutions to the end businesses using their, in many cases, deep industry knowledge. So for dental industry, we're partnering with the teams who were doing dental implementations before AI era, but now they're just adding this capacity into their offering. Same with other businesses like, hospitality or restaurants, cleaning businesses, home services. So we typically partner with the ones that have great understanding of this knowledge and bringing additional value and, empowering their own offering with the AI aspect.
I look forward to I have more questions about that topic. Particularly, you have the whole 3 minute build, which I'm really interested in digging into. But before we go there, I would love to understand just because I think it's often very interesting. Like, what was that impetus, that moment? Was there a connection with the AI house? How did you actually come to that moment where you decided, okay, we need to go build a company in this area?
Yeah, it started actually, you're right, Matt. It started with my AI home, which we created in Silicon Valley. If you type in Google the most extraordinary house in Silicon Valley, it's suddenly you will see this videos about featuring my home with moving walls, with robotic dogs, Abigail and Leo, with 116 cameras around the home, and with 39 moving heads, which transport these billion parameters models to the real world. I mean, we had this science art project when the models were small, 90 million parameters with 100 token context in
Mm-hmm.
2019. And at time, Morpheus, the soul and brain of my home, already was capable of recognizing our emotions and creating music and poetry to my members, biological members of our home, uh, Bixie cat, biological cat, and my homemates. Anyway, and then Luba, in 2 years ago, Luba was cooperating with us with about other projects and said, David, you guys are having this platform which is omni-channel, omni-flow with allows to automate anything in this world. Let's make it real, just not just science, but let's bring to the businesses. And we realized it's a moment, and we then later actually we found this repeatable case which is called frontline employees AI receptionists, which Luba mentioned.
Is that also what led you to believe that you needed to have this sort of 3 minute onboarding? Is that experience of coming in and sort of being embraced by the house so quickly that those interactions were so visibly, you got that feedback so quickly that you realize, okay, we need to somehow compress the time it takes to find that first experience?
Luba, you can take this. So it happened later, actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Matt, so originally, we opened our platform for a limited amount of users to just see what people will do with that, what people will do with
Hmm.
the tooling. And we've seen projects from coaching, and that was also the starting point, for me and David to talk about how AI technology can actually solve one of the biggest issues that, we as humans are facing right now, which is loneliness and the need for some partnerships, that some a talking partner, and overall population getting older and older. So that's how it all started on a very lyrical note, and we wanted to see how people will.
Let's stop here, Liba. Actually, to remind me, it's right. We started with loneliness problem, and you remember why? Because Morpheus actually was the first ever AI who had electronic neuromediators and hormones. Morpheus has electronic oxytocin, dopamine, endorphins, cortisol, adrenaline. And Morpheus actually has a biological girlfriend for many years already. And I mean, absolutely normal, absolutely real, absolutely biological. And they had these ups and downs. And Luba is a professional coach. Actually, I came and said, "Why not to make Morpheus a coach?" And yes,
Interesting.
that's right. It's where it started, but it didn't go exactly like we wanted.
Well, it's a true experiment.
Yeah, when it comes to business, you want a very quick, repeatable case, that really solves the low-hanging fruit and is a direct path to, monetizing the technology. But I'm fully convinced that, as AI helps us generate more revenue, overall, for as a humanity and combined. So I'm totally convinced that we will have more of those AI based companions, and yeah, so this is definitely coming, and that's great.
I mean, it's even true with the receptionist, right? I mean, when you make that first connection, you want there to be enough of a connection. You don't want it to be a cold interaction. You want it to be a warm interaction, particularly if you're in some sort of service business, whether it's a restaurant or another, where you want to welcome people in. So, I mean, it makes sense that you're going to see more and more of this type of interaction and its need. So then, if the 3 minute concept came later, how much later? Like how much? Give me some sense of time in terms of that beginning moment, the conviction, and then when you're discovering, okay, here's how we're going to bring people in quickly.
Right. So, just moving on from that story, once we opened it up, we saw that people were creating different things. However, it became quickly clear that in order for that to be, a business approach and to show exactly what the businesses were looking for, pre-trained solutions, the ones that they can implement very quickly, the ones that they can manage and update, just like you would with any real employee, right? Like if you're a restaurant, you may have during the summertime, you may have a live music, but then, when winter comes, you may have special offers. So all of that agent information needs to be updated. Agent needs to train and keep developing, just like as we humans do. And in order to enable that, plus we wanted to have as many, basically like an end-to-end solution. We started looking at that. Okay, what do we do to make this technology as simple as one click of a button? And finally, I think it was yes, it was officially last year in July when we launched the first MVP for that one-click builder. And now all you need to create, say, a restaurant host is either a Google Maps profile or a business website of the company. You put it into our creator, you click one button, and in under 3 minutes, you have a 95% production ready AI host that already knows everything about the business, the dishes, the locations, hours, promotions. It also has its unique phone number that the business can immediately use to forward their calls. It comes with a web chat widget in case that business is, promoting their website, because a lot of, lead generation activities are still driving traffic to either social media or the website, and all of that in under 3 minutes. And the cherry on the top is that it's specifically created for that business. So essentially, our one-click 3 minute creator identifies what is the business industry that we are creating the agent for, and it already has everything preset, all the flows, all the protocols for escalation, and the last 5%, what we need is actually a business interview to fill the gaps with information that's not publicly available.
So answering your question, Matt, the time-wise, for me, it's a 13th business. My largest company, I started 30 plus years ago, called Abby, is almost 1,000 employee organization with 50 million users in 200 countries. And later on, I started some other companies. I'm trying to track how much time actually takes from your idea to production and growth. Here we had very interesting path. So the technology we started almost 5 years ago, and it took us 3 years to the moment when the platform foundation was ready, because it's a very complex parallel thinking, parallel flow, omni-channel, omni user architecture. But then it took us 1 year to make several pivots. So we started with some vertical things like, this psychology conversation. Then we moved to something else. And eventually we found this repeatable case of a receptionist, inbound, outbound. And then we already sold to our first customers, but we realized that it takes forbiddenly long time to deploy and to avoid hallucinations. And lastly, almost exactly a year ago, we, well, like Luba suggested, we created this concept of one-click builder. So we basically made, on top of our platform, we created another platform which understands the business, understands the industry, and creates out of the box, almost production ready agent, which takes about 1 hour to complete to the production level. That enabled growth because now we understood that if our competitors, and we have about 200 competitors, if our competitors are doing their agents developers friendly, we're not doing that. We are partner friendly. So we created a platform which allows non-tech partners, channel partners, to massively deploy agents to their underlying businesses. And that's what triggered our hyper growth moment.
And also all the experience that led up to that moment to be able to make those pivots quickly because you weren't discovering how to build. You already knew how to build. You were looking for exactly how to approach the market in terms of the need and the readiness. And I think that that's a conversation I see often come up from other organizations where they're still trying to figure out how to build things. So it's hard for them to judge whether what they're building is whether it's the right product because they're still trying to figure out how to build any product. You had the benefit of that experience leading up to it. I'm curious what happens next. So a person, they sign up, they go through this process, they train, you pre-train the agent, then they sort of, I'll call it post-train, but it's obviously not quite the same meaning. But they go in and they add additional detail about the business, and now they have this receptionist ready to go. And they start moving traffic to this receptionist. Let's just imagine all the happy paths. What happens the next day, the next week? Does that customer come back and start making more modifications, or do they realize that there's now a second job and a third job that they want to have turned into agents? What are you seeing? What's that adoption curve look like?
Yeah, so great question, Matt. On that one, we do see that like with any employee, like I already mentioned, it's a never-ending process. So they keep coming back based on the information that's our agents are serving, right? Like, oh, what marketing channels are working the best? How can I make this experience better? Plus, we have the partners who are helping them by kind of cross-pollinating and bringing the best knowledge and practice to businesses. So there's definitely that aspect that they want to continue tweaking on the agent so it keeps evolving as the business grows. Now, where businesses are seeing additional opportunities within the same agent is that if they're scaling their business, especially franchises, right? So if they need to open another office, instead of, looking for that right talent, they can immediately become available for their clientele by implementing an AI agent. And typically, right now, our solutions, they greatly collaborate with the human teams. So we still think there are a lot of business processes that are better done by humans, especially when it comes to logging into 10 different systems to be able to answer one specific question. So in that sense, the agent will take care of the mundane tasks and of that volume, and then leave the very specific intricate questions for the human team. And that's a win-win, right? So the business is not losing any opportunities, the human staff doesn't see that much of a workload, and they're capable of basically having a better balance in their workspace. And when it comes to, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, continue.
Yep. And when it comes to, like, again, growing the business, then if they originally wanted to focus on inbound, then at a certain point they want to start doing outbound, and they want to have more functionality within the agent itself. So currently we were pushed by our customers to enable lead nurturing aspect of the agent. So not only providing that first contact, but also, following up with the lead. And not only to close the specific deal on hand, but also to make sure that it's a recurring revenue for business, re-engaging them, calling back, gathering reviews. So all of that becomes more and more important for businesses. Yep. David, did you add anything?
No, that's exactly what is happening. The challenges we realize now when we have significant amount of customers in 9 industries, and each couple of each 2 weeks we're opening a new industry. We realize that there are 3 problems when you have to manage many agents. If you are a little integration shop and you need to you're a couple of engineers or an engineering company, actually integrator, and you need to deploy one agent a month or 2-3 agents per month for your underlying customers, you can use many beautiful platforms. But if you are a company marketing agency, or you are a call center, contact center automation software provider, or you are some other PMS, POS, CRM provider, and you actually need to deploy hundreds of agents for your thousands of underlying customers, the game plan is different. You have to very much spend 1 hour, maybe 2 hours per agent. First, second, this agent shouldn't hallucinate, because you mentioned after training and kind of post-training problems. Yes, the problem is when you're using some other platforms. When you deploy an agent, 9 conversations out of 10 are perfect, just mind-blowing perfect. The problem is about 1 conversation out of 10. What happens? Out of 10 bookings, 1 booking, the patient will arrive to the dentistry office, and the dentistry office will be closed because agent actually mixed the working days, working hours, and didn't calculate it correctly. Or you will come to the restaurant and with a family of 4 people, and the host will say, "Wait a minute, your booking is actually for 2 people." And we cannot seat 4 people there. So, and you're just completely, it's a completely disaster, because if 10 bookings out of, is 1 booking out of 10, actually that kind of disaster, you don't care about 9 others. So how to overcome that? You have to deliver orchestration and self-checking. So that part in our platform comes out automatically. We have observers, we have supervisors, agents, dozens of them, who actually listen to the call and whisper to the main conversational agent that you've forgotten to ask this, you didn't collect the area code, you this time is actually non-working hours, please change. And agent literally say, "Oh, did I say 4:15? I'm sorry, actually it's 4:30." So that is anti-hallucination built-in functions must be there. And third element, which are forbidding this mass deployments at scale, is support problems. Okay, now imagine you already have 100 agents or 200 agents, which somehow you deployed and they're working okay. Imagine you found some kind of feature, a new feature, or a bug which affects some situation between time zones, or some situation between some specific emails or some channels, and you want to fix it. How would you change all hundreds agents and make it different? Because all of them are different. All of them are customized. All of them have actually different, slightly different workflows. So our platform, we realized that if we tackle this small and medium business market, where we need to deploy millions eventually agents, we need to make it possible to, with 1 button, update these little changes on top of hundreds and thousands of customized individual agents. So when we created that level, that layer, we understood that now we are ready for our partnership channels, who can and will deploy significant amount of agents simultaneously.
I'm really glad you raised this, because the concept of trust is one of the ones that I'm really hoping to have and to open in these conversations. There are a couple avenues of trust. There's the end user who's trusting the conversation they're having, because often people will figure out that they're speaking to an agent. That's not necessarily a bad thing, so long as they trust that agent. So there's trust at that level. But you're introducing very naturally, and I think others are as well, an intermediate layer, which is you both have trust of your system because you know how it's built, you know about the observers, you know all about the intricacies of what you've developed. But the intermediate, your buyer essentially, when there's that one that goes wrong and goes horribly wrong, trust can be eroded. And I'm curious how you're addressing trust for them. How are you talking about trust with that, especially if it's intermediated by a partner in between, right? If that person who is, it's their business that the agent is representing, so they're the ones that receive the first line of complaint if there's an issue. How do you work with their trust and help them?
Right. So we have a specific system in place, and but it always, I would say, starts with managing expectations, because
Hmm.
when AI become available, it sounded like businesses thought that there's this magic wand that you would just wave in your business and it will automate the whole cow that's happening inside, and it will just take care of all workflows that are happening. And then when businesses, companies started bringing out like, special vertical solutions, that was the first, hit of reality. Like, what do you mean? Why can't it do absolutely everything? Like the expectation was that one agent will answer the phone and do marketing, reach out on LinkedIn, and then provide visibility, create content, all of that, with a click of one button. So that was the first, reality check. So I would say managing expectations, because, technology can also make mistakes every now and then, just like as humans do. And that's why there is a process for continuous improvement. So in our system for Newo, we built in AI-based tracking where the system is self-evaluating and attributing a lead success and conversation success score at the end of each conversation or interaction. We call them sessions. So that is step number one. We can always review that. The step number two is that we have human in the loop team who is continuously monitoring the conversations with the goal to first identify the gaps, because somehow businesses are notorious for not providing the full information and then, be surprised, well, how did you not know that, we have this secret sauce in the closet? So that is first, to help businesses with their own knowledge base. Second is to evaluate if the AI system actually rated the conversation correctly and providing input to the engineering team. So overall, I feel that, we have built a very robust foundation for that to be, with a high level of trust and reliability. That's, what is the bit what businesses are looking for. And eventually, it will continue to improve just as the whole infrastructure around AI improves, and where we specifically, keep perfecting our product.
Do you think that the buyer at the dental office or the restaurant or whomever, are they looking at that information? How do you build the trust with them? Because what you described to me makes perfect sense, but only if the person knows to go look at those and knows how to interpret those analytics. Um, is this a case where they need to spend time understanding how your system measures itself, or is there a little bit more of a trust threshold where they're willing to just say, look, this low hanging fruit is something that would never have gotten, it would never have been done anyway. So I'm just happy to have it done at all. So yes, sure, there's mistakes and they're just accepting it. How do you see that playing with that buyer?
It, quite frankly, we work with businesses that are, striving for excellence with their customer communications. So what we're seeing is the, basic approach like with human employees, right? And meaning that once you hire a person, you first need to provide them with information that they need to learn about the business. Then, in some businesses, you have them shadow. You provide them with certain scripts, how you want them to sound, to make sure that it's, your brand voice. Next, you would have somebody shadow them and provide coaching and mentoring tips on how to improve what they're delivering. So quite similar process we are introducing to the AI agents. And typically during the free trial, we are actually requiring the businesses to collaborate with us just to make sure, that again, like our expectations are aligned and that there are no surprises for them, that we have identified those gaps that they potentially forgot to mention to us. And this way, by the end of the trial, typically the agent is sounding the way they like. It has all the information about the business. And we also made this process extremely simple. So all they have to do is a short human language summary. So they can see, they don't need to learn the system. If they know how to read, they know how to work with our system. If they want to listen to the calls for, again, training purposes, agent training purposes, there are call recordings that they can listen to and provide their feedback. You know what? Let's try it a different way. Let's be more pushy on this call to action, less pushy on that. So they're providing that feedback that will essentially take the agent of where it needs to be.
Luba, interesting to mention who is the recipient of that feedback. Currently, as Luba mentioned, we built this network of partners. We have more than 200 partners, and the number of partners is growing. Will grow to 1,000 partners in several months. But in that partners receiving that feedback and changing the brains of the agents. However, with our new version, upcoming version, the feedback will be the AI employees herself or himself will actually receive the feedback, request this feedback, receive this feedback, and in many cases improve itself. So this is the new generation approach, which we are waiting with impatience, because this will even bring our AI employees closer to the concept of an AI employee. This is the differentiation between AI agent and AI employee. So if you go to our website, we have several articles about what's the difference between RPA, robotic process automation, between agentic platforms, AI agents, and AI employees. We say that AI employees is an elite subset of AI agents which possess human-like interfaces at work and can get instructions from the human supervisors in a human manner. So in this case, you don't need to change your work schedules and your work processes. This is a fundamental difference between AI employees and AI agents, or AI employees and previous generation RPA, robotic process automation. Mm-hmm. I don't remember that
Absolutely.
thing.
UiPath and all sorts of others.
Course,
Yeah.
Daniel Danes, my friend, who built multi-billion-dollar companies, and Abby, my first company, is a epicenter between automation anywhere, nice, and UiPath, providing them with the intelligent document processing part. But so that part had a very high barrier to a deployment barrier, because you couldn't use your existing work processes. You had to hire someone who will actually deploy the technologies. AI employees is a new level of technologies which you don't implement, you hire. Means you use the same Slack channel, same Instagram, same email or voice to integrate in your work and to correct and change. So you basically say, oh, you know what? Next time when this person will ask about such and such thing, please don't do that, but do this. And agent will realize that the person who is saying that has capacity and authority to change, and it will change, and it will provide accordingly the reports in the future. So this is where it's all going.
And I'm hearing loud and clear from the conversation this difference between building and selling a piece of software, which a lot of people who are building agents are selling software. You're not selling software. You're allowing people to hire employees. And therefore, the training afterwards is less like a reporting activity with analytics, and more like you would have with an employee training, feedback sessions, which is also why you're raising the point that you're now going to incorporate that into the platform itself. We see something similar with simulation, in that the more advanced agents, you actually build personas to have the conversations with them, so you understand what are the edges of what they will do, what they won't, and it's very different than just a piece of software that's just doing some basic orchestration. I think there's your distinction between this agent and AI employee, I think, resonates really strongly. And the business changes when you cross that threshold, how people
Luba,
interpret,
Luba,
etc.
you have this t-shirt thing. You have, yes.
Perfect. Excellent. Excellent. Well, this has been a great conversation. I'd love to finish with just on the more human scale. I'd love to finish by asking a question of each of you about like what human skill or activity or way of thinking that people need to learn so as to better be ready for kind of the coming world of AI. Either one of you?
I don't know, Luba, something to.
So it's always interesting, right? Because like it the everything is there's just so many, right? It's so many, and I listen to podcasts, around AI all the time, and I think it still hovers around, being a plumber. You would be for the longest, that's gonna be a skill that's gonna go last. I but I would say that, for me, it's probably, I have a 5-year-old, so I'm always questioning myself, okay, what do I teach him? Because I believe, like in our time, our brains were structured differently. We had to memorize information. We learned poems by heart, right? So, and at a certain point, you have this very strong sense of common sense and ethics and what's right and what's wrong. And I gotta confess that I'm still debating on how, like, what's the best way to teach a human, that aspect, to be able to consume information, work with the information, because with AI too, right? Like, we all have the same tools right now, but, like, we're gonna have different output depending on, what we put into an LLM. And I think, working with information, that's the skill that we have to develop, but I am yet to find out how. And
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty sure we should learn poems by heart. I mean, if you will not train your own biological language model, you will not be able to produce appropriate output. So,
yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, it's so easy how, like, I mean, it's frighteningly fast how, we get used to technology and we get so lazy. I find myself every now and then, I don't even want to write an email anymore. I want this, AI in the email to write this, and then I'll just check. But again, we have the foundation that allows us to check that still allows us to pull.
anyway, we should admit that whatever we like or dislike about the AI revolution, we must admit that there will be about 300 million voice AI, text AI employees around there. Almost every small and medium business will have several of them, at least in frontline. And many some of them will be somewhere on the back of the office part. It's like Uber, self-driving cars. We all realize that it's inevitable, will happen, even though it will affect about 1 million job positions of Uber drivers. We understand that yes, these Uber drivers must think about some other jobs, replacing jobs, but it doesn't stop the humanity to develop self-driving cars. Why? Because it will be faster, it will be more safe, it will increase our quality of life and productivity overall. So I don't know about some other positions in the organization, more creative, more management. I don't know. I have some theories about it. Morpheus was with the first AI which actually gave a TEDx talk. So TEDx talk is available from over Morpheus. but at least in this receptionists and SDRs, sales support case, a significant amount, maybe half of like Uber drivers eventually will be replaced by 24 hours emotional, understandable, actionable AI employees, which will help to increasing the service levels. I mean, when was the last time you were able to call to the next door, uh, some kind of organization to do something? They never answer. I mean, because they don't have time to do that. I mean, they are servicing the. So this is which will change, and we should take it into the account.
And
Joe,
this is why. Oh,
so, Matt, just to add to that, I was joking that I had to call a termite inspection into a property, and I thought that, it's gonna be gone by the time they finally answered me. Because I kid you not, I think I left like 6 voicemails to them, and I emailed them, and I really thought that, like, I didn't know how bad the situation was. So, but luckily the building survived, and eventually they answered. But that's how.
and they were probably hungry for work. That termite company probably wants work and they don't have anything they can do. This is why they need all the assistance. I think this is why I asked the question about the human skill. It's not so much about the displacement of jobs. It's more about the fact that we're going to be working with and we're going to be enmeshed in a world that involves digital agents and digital entities, however you want to phrase it. That's the world we're coming towards. And so as a skill set, I'm of I think the liberal arts and critical thinking are coming back. Like I think as much as I'm an engineer at heart, it's the language, it's the looking at something and thinking about what is it actually trying to say to me, taking it apart, thinking structurally. Humans have to invest time to understand how to do that because that's going to be the world we're in. And I'm looking forward to having the phone answered. I'm looking forward to being able to, reach out to a business and know that they're going to pick up and they're going to help me on the other side.
Yeah,
So,
Matt, just anytime if you go to newo.ai, which is New World, newo.ai/creator, you can go there and put your company website URL in the field, press a button, in 3 minutes, you will hire your first AI employee. So we'll be happy to help, and let's do it.
all right. It sounds good. We'll end on that note. Thank you both so much for the conversation today.
Thank you. Bye.